Okay, we're gonna get this board meeting going. If the 12 members, if they would move up a little closer to the front, that would be great. If you, Annika has the board packets up here for whoever does not have one. Okay, we'll call the meeting to order, and the minutes of the October 1st, 2025 board meeting is in your packet. Any additions or corrections to the minutes? Bill? Yep, we'll get to that, Bill. Okay, so there's been a motion by Bill Sheldon to approve the minutes. Is there a second? Seconded by Scott Mund. Any more discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed? Okay, minutes are carried. All right, now I am gonna open the floor. Do we do chair or vice chair first? Okay. Yeah. I'm gonna turn it over to Danny, and we will do the elections of the chair and vice chair. So just to clarify one thing, and Danny just brought it to my attention, I have been appointed onto the State Water Commission by Governor Armstrong, and I am definitely stepping down. I can't serve as chair. I don't want to have a conflict of interest when it comes to cost share funding. If there's ever some irrigation things that come up and I'm the chair of the Irrigation Association, that probably wouldn't look good. So that's why I'm stepping down. Thank you.
Thank you for your years of service.
Okay, so with that, I will take nominations for chair. Lauren?
Nominate Scott Mund.
Okay, any other nominations? Any other nominations? Any other nominations? All right, Bill moves that we cast a unanimous ballot for Scott. Is there a second? Second. Sharon seconds. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay. Welcome, Scott. Would you like me to run the election for vice chair? Okay. Okay, I would now open up nominations for a vice chair. Jerry.
I would like to nominate Sharon Shermeister as vice chair.
Okay, Jerry nominates Sharon. Any other nominations? Any other nominations? Any other nominations? Okay, is there a second on that nomination? Okay. Is there a second from a current sitting board member? I think we need to get to you, Brian. All right, Steve Knorr seconds. Sorry to be a stickler. Okay, so Sharon has been nominated and seconded. All in favor say aye. All opposed?
Nice.
Okay. Do we have somebody online? Awesome. We can't see you. Can you identify who's online?
Doug Gullickson.
Okay, thank you, Doug. Is there anyone else online? Oh, Kelly Cooper, okay. That's it? Okay, thank you. Okay, well, elections are over. And Mr. Chair, I'd be happy to just go into the membership report. Actually, let's take care of the nomination of the new board member. I think that would be appropriate at this point. Okay, Bill moves that we nominate Brian for the board. Is there a second? Steve seconds. Steve Knorr seconds. All in favor say aye. All
Aye.
opposed? Okay, welcome to the board. Thank you, Brian. Okay, we will go into the membership report. So that is on page 7 of your packet. If anyone would like a packet and doesn't have one, there are extra copies up here by Annika. Yeah, and if you raise your hand, she can bring you one. So you can look through the paid members. And then we have a pretty short unpaid members list. For background, the unpaid members are folks that paid in 2024 that did not pay in 2025. So if you see friends or neighbors on there, you can nudge them a little bit to get paid up for 2026.
I did talk to my dad, so.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions on the membership report?
Are we a member, like, paying this morning?
No, nope, it's separate. If there aren't any other questions, I will just at this point address the funding situation that was referenced earlier. I know the board has talked about this a little bit. Since the Irrigation Association was founded, it's been a partnership between the Garrison Diversion Conservancy District, the state of North Dakota, and the North Dakota Water Users Association. They came together to found the association, and the Water Users has always hosted the association, provides staffing for the association, and does all the financials. And then the state and Garrison had each contributed matching funds for the operation of the association. The department let us know in August or September that they were going to discontinue their support for those operational dollars. They are partnering with us on a few education campaigns that we're working on. They are a big sponsor of the Irrigation Workshop today, but they were not able to provide those operational dollars that they had provided in the past. So that obviously impacts membership and impacts our dollars moving forward. I just wanted to make everybody aware of that.
Is there a representative still here?
Does not appear so.
Be nice if,
If there's not any questions on the membership report, do you want me to keep going? Okay. Okay, so after the membership report, you will find the proposed work plan. So we talked about this a little bit with the member meeting. The association always adopts a work plan that gives me and my staff direction on what to work on for the next year. You will see some highlighted, those are additions from the 2025 work plan. I know Steve Hansen talked a little bit about bringing value to the membership. We're certainly going to do some work this year on developing some marketing materials that really try to hone in on that message so we can make sure that we are letting current members and potential members know the value that we can bring to them and to their operations. You will see, moving up a little bit, the work on the water permit process. I would say that's probably a top priority for us for 2026. And then we have started doing a little bit of support for research and tool development when it comes to getting a good understanding of water availability throughout the state. So we this year did a couple of letters of support for different individuals and organizations that were doing that type of research in North Dakota. And we'll continue to look for those partnerships moving forward. We did also add Nesson Valley to our list of research stations. I think we've always done support for Nesson Valley. That was just an oversight on my part. And then if you drop down to federal policy support, did add a little amendment to the project pumping power bullet point. As Steve mentioned, with Andrea and former Governor Burgum over at Department of Interior, we're going to start working with them to see, in addition to pushing legislation, if there's an administrative fix for that project pumping power issue. So we added that on there. And then the bottom there is just a little bit more talk about research, as well as calling out that economic study that we are currently working on and will finish up next year with the Department of Ag and Decision Innovation Solutions. So with that, I would entertain any questions on the work plan, and we do eventually need a motion to approve the work plan. Steve Hansen moves.
Second.
Are you seconding or are you asking for one? Okay. Sharon seconds. Any other discussion? All in favor? Oh. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay. And then I will move into financials. So, have in front of you the budget report for 2025. That's on page 14 of your packet. I'll walk through it pretty quickly. It's pretty straightforward. When it comes to income, we derive our income from that support from Garrison. So you'll see they've paid 25 of the 50,000. They will pay that last 25,000 this month. So they'll be fully paid up before the end of the year. DWR paid their initial 25,000, and then we won't see any more on that. Memberships, we're sitting at about 20,000. And then that miscellaneous would be if we had any interest on accounts, which we haven't had any income yet, but we might before the end of the year. So that's the income. Expenses are pretty straightforward as well. You have the staff expenses, health insurance, dues and subscriptions tend to be membership in things like the Ag Coalition, the Water Coalition, groups that work together to advocate for our interests. And then office expenses, travel and registration. I sit on the board for the National Water Resources Association, and I do travel to those board meetings and conferences, and one of those is always in DC, and so we do split the expense for that DC trip with the Irrigation Association and water users, because I try to do visits with all of the congressional members, talking specifically about project pumping power and other irrigation things at that meeting. Everything else seems to be tracking. You'll see a little bit higher miscellaneous than we budgeted for. That was for the booth at the Ag Day at the Capitol. We do that every other year, and so that is a little bit more on the legislative years than the off years. So the year to date, you do see a deficit there. About 25,000 of that will be made up with the income from Garrison before the end of the year, but we will likely end the year with a deficit. Because the Irrigation Association does all of their financials with water users, we have a little bit of a cushion, and so some of the water users' income will likely cover that deficit. If it doesn't, the Water Users Board has authorized staff to make a transfer from savings for the water users savings account to cover that shortfall. With that, I take any questions on the year to date. Yes, Sharon. Yes. Yeah, so when I met with DWR, they let me know about the irrigation support. We did have a good conversation about the potential for cost share on education activities, the convention and irrigation workshop being one of those. So through the water users, we did submit a cost share application, and they are providing about $14,000 in funding for this event total for convention and the irrigation workshop. The way cost share with the state works, we have to expend those dollars and then ask for reimbursement. So we likely will see that income in 2026.
task as a board is to figure out how we're moving forward in 2026.
Yes, and I can talk a little bit about that. If there's aren't any questions about 2025, I can talk about 2026. We probably should have a motion to accept the 2025 budget report. Okay, Steve moves. Is there a second? Steve Knorr seconds. All in favor say aye. All opposed? Okay. So the proposed 2026 budget looks very similar to what we'd seen for expenses for 2025. We did remove the Department of Water Resources income out of there. We have budgeted $50,000 from Garrison, which is what they are committed to providing right now. They did reach out to me this fall, and they asked for a meeting to talk about this and discuss the potential for them increasing the dollars that they use to provide to the association for support services. I'm meeting with them next week, and so the proposed budget that you have before you is what we know right now. After that meeting, I may know more, and there may be some follow-up conversations with the board after that meeting. I do just want to mention that Garrison has been a really amazing partner when it comes to irrigation development across the state and for the Irrigation Association in particular. I know Ryan's in the back, and he and I work together, talk pretty regularly on irrigation. So really appreciate the staff at Garrison as well as the board for their support for irrigation. With that, I'll just walk through a couple on the expense side, a couple of changes, because you'll see that the bottom amount there is smaller than the 50,000 that you would expect it to be with a loss of 50,000 in income. So there's a couple of changes on the expense side. Contracts and staff went down. We are not cutting any staff. In talking with the water users and the Water Education Foundation, we were able to shift some staff time from irrigation over to the Water Education Foundation. And so that is just a shift over to help with the fiscal situation. So that's why you also see the decrease in insurance. We did also.
So they cut our funding, but they're going to assist with the wages.
So this is the Water Education Foundation.
Yeah, but isn't it still sourced by the DWR?
No.
No?
No, so the Water Education Foundation gets a lot of their funding from the Water Magazine, which is funded by a couple of different partners. And then they are also the ones that do the summer water tours, and so they do make a little money off of that. And that is one of the things that I think when we sat down and looked at the way staffing was organized, Julie's time especially, she spends a lot of time working on those tours. And the Water Education Foundation was at a point financially where they were able to absorb a little bit more of her costs that I think correlate better with the time that she's spending on those events. So you'll see a correlated drop in insurance. Dues and subscriptions, we just right-sized with what we paid for 2025. And then everything else, we just kind of matched up with what we anticipate spending. The travel and registration did go up a little bit. That just reflects we spent a little bit more this year, and I anticipate that airfare and other travel expenses are only going to go up, not down, for next year. Other than that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that anybody has on the 2026 budget.
Do you have any ideas where we're gonna come try and find funding to, basically we need to get 30,000 in income?
Yeah, so I think first step will be having this conversation with Garrison to see what they're envisioning. And then, you know, it's a shared budget with water users. So the Water Users Board is also looking at some other funding sources as well. The state also dropped their membership in water users, so that's a $10,000 hit for them. And so we're both trying to kind of work through that that situation. I will say the water users has pretty considerable reserves at this point, so there's no concerns for 2026. But to reiterate what Steve mentioned earlier, it comes down to membership, and I think that really is something that we need to work on this year and moving forward. I think it's awesome that we have partners like Garrison and the state, but at the end of the day, we want to make sure that the association is bringing value to the members and to the irrigators, and that we have an association that is supported by that membership. Are there any other questions on the 2026 budget?
Danny, if Garrison diversion doesn't come through on the shortfall, obviously our options would be increased dues or seek new membership. Obviously, seek new membership first,
Yep.
and then look at increasing dues.
Yep.
I think there's also be a push for industry, not just the irrigation guys back in the room there, but the commercial side, the ethanol plants. You know, we produce a lot of grain in this unfriendly state. I think we need to see more play from those folks on supporting, you know, the ethanol industry, et cetera. And we reached out to them. I know we've done it on one-off projects, but
Yep.
actually committing funds to the association.
Yeah, in my time, we have not had a push to look at industry other than kind of that dealer kind of category. And I think that's a great idea. I'd love to work with you on that.
I mean, you got the same people we talked with on the funding
Yes.
of irrigation research.
Yep. Yep.
There's a lot of potatoes grown
Yes, there are.
under irrigation.
Yep. Any other questions? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve the proposed budget. Bill moves. Jerry seconds. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye. All opposed? Okay. So we are now to other business. And I was gonna look through and see if I had any. I do, and I maybe will have Steve Hansen talk a little bit about the wetland backgrounder that we signed on to.
You gonna come up here?
So many of you heard Jeff McCoy with Pacific Legal this morning on the U.S. Fish and Wildlife easements. We put together, there's a few of us, I think it started with North Dakota corn growers. I know Drew Courtney did a lot of work on it amongst other people, but Representative Fedorchak has asked that when different commodity groups, people go to Washington, with the concerns with U.S. Fish and Wildlife easements, it's fragmented. It's not the same story that they're hearing when people go out. So what we wanted to do was put together a short 2-pager. In this case, it's a 3-pager, but just a quick history and then the ask of what we're looking for. And we got it put together, and I wanted North Dakota Water to sign on to it. So Irrigation Association, North Dakota Water Users, and Water Resource Districts have all agreed to sign on with this. In essence, you know, the meat and potatoes part of this is we've asked, you know, we talked about a buyback program of your U.S. Fish and Wildlife easements. Realistically, long shot, like a very long shot. So And we were told that, and we come back and we said, well, okay, how about U.S. Fish and Wildlife easements? You know, when you got your maps back in the 60s, 50s, whenever they were put on, like Jeff said this morning, they were a spot, all right? Original intent wasn't to cover the whole field, but in essence, that's what happened. So what we would like is just, you have two agencies, two federal agencies that are doing the same thing, okay? And we want to just follow the NRCS guidelines when it comes to wetlands, okay? Follow their regulatory framework, which in essence means you have tile setbacks when you want to put in tile, okay? U.S. Fish and Wildlife has perverted that so bad that it's, you know, they're huge setbacks to the point where you can't tile, in some cases, any part of that field. And if you follow the NRCS guidelines, their setbacks are more forgiving, they're more realistic. Along with that, if you follow the framework for NRCS, it lets you mitigate wetlands. Okay, and that is the ask to go out there and have that in Representative Fedorchak's bill, which she has out there. You know, the opponents to this, of course, is ducks, right? You have a bunch of Southern Republicans and Democrats alike that they're afraid they're going to lose out on their duck hunting, okay? This, in essence, you are not losing 1 acre of wetland. You're just, as a producer, you're being able to move them. That's all we're asking. And it's you know, we think it's a compromise to, you know, help putting our land to use where we want. We all have probably some land that's pretty poor where we'd be willing to move these to. But we'd like to see it put into legislation. It's a long shot. I'm not, don't think that can happen, but that's one avenue we're going after. This is also going to go to the Department of the Interior. We're going to see what happens there too. But it's one of those things where we got to be united on it. And the more commodity groups and the more groups here in North Dakota, Minnesota, that can sign on to it. You know, we've got the Midwest Council on Ag. That is a bipartisan group led by Colin Peterson. If his name sounds familiar, he led the charge in the Farm Bill back in the day, Democrat. He's all over this. He agrees with this. They're a proponent of this also. And I believe North Dakota soybean or maybe corn, I don't know, Justin, one of them is a member of the Midwest Council on Ag, I believe. North Dakota corn. Yeah. Okay. So we're using that avenue with this same 3-pager, and I've only got one copy of it. I'll leave it up here if you want to read through it. It gives a background history of, kind of what a lot of the stuff Jeff went through this morning, basically how the U.S. Fish and Wildlife is pushing their weight around on us. So that was why the ask of getting North Dakota water groups to sign on to this. That's basically it in a nutshell. Any questions on that? Go ahead, David.
You're getting signatures from groups. Can individuals sign on one of that? Or is that worth it?
Yeah, we did that earlier, and we still have that. Most of us are members of different groups, which would encompass, rather than going to every individual, we're going to the groups. It's because what Representative Fedorchak asked for. So that's why we're doing that. And I don't know, I've heard Farmers Union, Farm Bureau. I know Farmers Union is electing a new person today, maybe? Saturday. I've got a verbal that they will sign on to it. So that's what we're looking for, is all these groups to sign on. That way it shows we're united in what we're asking for. But anyways, if anybody wants to read through it, I can pass it around. I got one copy of it here, but anyway. Yes, Zinwa. Oh, yeah. Yeah, sure. And I don't, there isn't any policy that's changing right now. We hope it changes, right? Because then that makes it permanent until it's voted out. If we go to the Department of the Interior, that changes with administrations, right? So, you know, then it would come down to whatever you can get done in the next 3 years until an administration change. So, like we've heard all along, the time is now, right? We've got so many North Dakota. You got Hoven in charge of the checkbook. You got Kramer. I think he's chairman of the board that oversees the Department of the Interior. So, or of Fish and Wildlife. So, yeah, I agree now's the time, but a lot of politics. Go ahead.
So, at what level does this have potentially get changed? I mean, is it Department of Interior, or is it Congress, or where along the line can this potentially get changed?
Yeah, right. So good question. And we would like it to be changed permanently through Representative Fedorchak's bill. She's teaming up with Harriet Hageman from Wyoming. And it just so happens that the second person down, I think, in the Interior is from Wyoming. They have big private property landowner rights in Wyoming. And this falls underneath that. However, ours is between Minnesota, Montana, South Dakota, North Dakota. It's fairly unique. We do have delegation, partial delegation from Minnesota that is in agreement with this too. The Department of the Interior, if we got Julie's bill to pass, it would be permanent, okay, until it's overturned. However, the Department of the Interior would only be good until the next administration comes in and could possibly change it. But we want to attack each avenue so that we can, not leave any stone unturned. It's a very collaborative effort. I mean, this is not a Republican issue. This is not a Democrat issue. This is a bipartisan issue that, and that's why we think Midwest Council on Ag is a good way to go, because Colin still pulls a lot of weight in DC. And he can bridge. That's right. And that's what this is doing. Any other questions?
Thank you, Steve.
Yep.
Anybody else have any other business they want to bring before us today? We're always open to suggestions, like we asked for before.
I've got one. Brian, I'm going to put you on the spot. So with the new potato plant coming in Grand Forks, I think it's in Bristol?
Yes.
What do I've heard they want to do dryland potatoes, irrigated potatoes. I mean, what I heard, they're going to be double the size of Simplot. Can you shed a little light?
I'm told they're open, they are planning to use dryland as well. I think they're gonna need as many potatoes as they can find. Their end of the rainbow current plan is they would like to process 40,000 acres of potatoes. I think that's about all North Dakota grows at this time. But you gotta remember, they're not all gonna come from North Dakota. You got Canada, you got Minnesota, but they sound like a very aggressive company, looking for very expensive storage, building the storage for this company.
Turn the mic on there, bud.
Building the storage for this company is going to be really painful, as in expensive. But they are a very aggressive company, it seems like, well-funded. I think there's a lot of positives to Agristo coming to the United States. What they are currently doing is producing potatoes and French fries in Belgium and exporting them into the United States. So they already have some shelf space here. But the Belgium growers are getting to grow them for them. So it's our turn.
What could happen with irrigation
Okay, there's a little bit more to the story as you charge my memory up here a little bit. They are using a yellow flesh variety, 2 or 3 yellow flesh varieties that have a little bit stronger vine. They are having reasonably good success growing dryland potatoes in the old traditional northeastern North Dakota potato growing region. And there's some available capacity, appetite to grow there. So that's one of the reasons why this is making sense also. They can tap into some old traditional growers that have either left the fresh market or willing to leave the fresh market, or have left the chip market or are willing to leave the chip market.
Okay. Anybody got any other questions? Brian's a potato producer down in the Crete Oaks area.
Thank you, Steve. Anybody else got anything else? If not, I guess we will adjourn. Thank you, guys.
We'll start back here at 2. So don't go too far.